So I had two incredible games in the Ohio back to back, in ranked even. And I want to show you them both because I think they show the strengths of the Ohio and its ability to carry a team to a win. It's a crazy strong ship, and you can play it in a group with your teammates, grouped up like we have here. Right, my entire team is going to the 3, 4, 5-ish lines, and next game you'll see me do some flanking, and it works amazing in both scenarios. The ship is just very, very, very strong. And I think everybody knows that at this point. It's really strong, but it is definitely my favorite battleship for ranked. And a lot of that comes down to the heals. The heals on this ship being half the cooldown time means that you can get into some pretty aggressive positions and still do a lot of work without dying. Curfirst, for example, dies really quickly in the closer range scenarios because, one, it has a gigantic superstructure that everybody just can melt it through, and two, it doesn't have the healing ability that the Ohio does. So pushing up here isn't actually that bad of an idea. So the other really nice thing about the Ohio is the main guns. Being able to overmatch 30mm is crucial these days. Back in the day, it was fine to have 406mm main guns because all the cruisers had 27mm. So Zhao was the only cruiser in the game that had 30mm of armor. So it was okay to not be overmatching 30mm. But nowadays, battleships basically have to have 457mm, otherwise you're putting yourself at a massive disadvantage. Of course, there's still ships like the Petro in front of me that have 50mm of armor and no superstructure, so they basically take no damage. But having the ability to overmatch 30mm of armor keeps you at the similar power level of battleships back in the day. If you're trying to use a battleship with 406mm guns, you're going to have to be very good with your aim and trying to get flanks, right? Obviously, if you're shooting at bow-in targets, it's really not going to go well with a 406mm battleship. And that's why Ohio is just better than a Montana for a lot of these ranked scenarios. Montanas are very good when they're paired together. If you have two Montanas cross-firing the same target, that's when it becomes really strong. But if you can't guarantee that, you want overmatch. And you notice here, I am putting an effort into shooting at the enemy destroyers. My goal is to kill the destroyers as much as possible. We're using the AP, and there's an argument to be made for HE, but these AP shells do a lot of damage. And focusing destroyers out really, really, really help your team win. I think most people know that, but as a battleship player, it's very important that you're shooting the enemy destroyers, because even 1 or 2 hits is enough to change a sure win for an enemy destroyer, for example, into a loss. So what I mean by that is a daring outguns a gearing, right? Everybody knows this. Daring has better DPM than a gearing does. But it's not so much better to the point where a single salvo from a battleship can't allow a gearing to win that fight. And that's why it's so important, because these destroyers are all kind of balanced in this hierarchy. Can't even say that word. Shouldn't have used it, but whatever. We'll continue. Where they're all kind of in this hierarchy where you know which destroyer is going to outgun you from the very start of the game, and you know which destroyers you can outgun, assuming it's a 1v1 in a fair fight. But these battleship salvos can really, really mess that up. So focusing especially on gunboats when they're spotted as a battleship player is really, really crucial to allowing your destroyers, maybe late game, having that 1v1 with a gunboat DD, except they have the advantage because they're a lot healthier, for example. Things like that can really impact the end game, right? Like our gearing is playing really safe here. He's stalling out the ACAP, which is actually a really good play by him. And the more damage we can get on the enemy gunboat DDs, the easier it'll be for a gearing on 12,000 HP to win those fights. As we know, late game destroyers, if you can stay alive to the late game, they're very, very, very powerful. Just go look at my last video. Getting a solo warrior in Holland. It's very, very, very crucial that you help your destroyers as much as possible to win those late fights. And that's why at the beginning here I've focused less on the battleships, less on getting to the cruisers, and more on just helping my destroyers win these fights. So now it's time to push. The GK has died, and we do need caps. It's 4 minutes left on the clock, at least till the enemy team wins if nothing changes. Again, focusing the Harugumo, even over a Thunder, just to get that extra 2 hits. That's like 3,000 damage on him. So definitely a big deal coming up in the late game. So pushing into here, what are we hoping for? We're hoping to dev strike the Des Moines through his bow, basically. At these closer ranges, you're pretty much guaranteed citadels through the bow of a Des Moines because it's pretty easy to hit the majority of your shells. It's pretty easy to aim for the bow and get those citadels. Dev striking is a little bit on luck, but your goal is to hit right in front of where the belt starts. And we get 2 citadels, which is pretty good, but it's not quite enough, so Des Moines gets the opportunity to slap me with some AP. And that health will be important later on, as we'll see. But we're already up to 105k and a kill. Not bad. Our team is definitely losing this, but it's possible that we can turn this around, maybe, if I can do some serious work here. So, again, gonna aim right in front of the belt armor. And bam. Citadel right through the bow. Of course, a Montana could have done that too. The bow armor is 27 only, but it's nice to have the ability to overmatch his side too, as you're gonna see later on. There's our Confederate. That's a pretty rare award in ranked games, considering there's 7 targets, and you need to deal, I think it's 20% damage to 6 ships, 6 different ships, so a very rare one to get. And because of that, we actually get Halsey activated. So now we're a Super Ohio. We get crazy reload, we get on both our main guns and our secondaries. It's quite awesome. Secondaries on the Smolensk, because they will full pen the Smolensk, which is really, really nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait for him to angle. You notice I don't shoot right away. I wait for him to angle, and that's enough to give me a citadel. If I would have shot when he was flat broadside, I would have 100% overpenned. And that's enough for our secondaries to get the kill, which is really nice. Put my secondaries on the Harugumo. I noticed he was low health. Keep my back guns for the Thunder, hoping for citadels, getting citadels, killing the Harugumo with our secondaries, putting our secondaries now onto the Marceau because we need to get as much damage onto the Marceau as possible before we die. Because we will die. We're out of heals. If I had a different build and maybe one more heal, I definitely would have lived through this. And Thunder doesn't manage to kill us. We don't manage to kill the Thunder. Back and forth trading bad dispersion. The goal is to get behind this island so that hopefully the Marceau doesn't light a fire here. And I'm just trying to get my main guns around to hopefully finish off this Thunder. Now we're kind of in an advantage a bit because, well, the enemy team only has that Marceau left. If dispersion cooperates. The last shell, blessed. There it is. Kraken unleashed. High caliber, Confederate, 2 close quarters, and a Kraken in a ranked game. And we're basically dead. This should be a win now at this point, but never underestimate the ability to throw, right? So we're trying to play safe. We're trying to duck behind this island here, not get spotted by the Marceau, because a stiff breeze could kill us at this point. So our Shimakaze is going in, and instead of turning out to try and play safe, he charges a Marceau. Oh no. Yeah, if you're playing Shima, don't do that, please. That's a great way to lose the game. He even beaches in front of him, making it so easy for the Marceau to kill him. So sad. And the Torps probably aren't going to hit. Oh, no. And now we're spotted. But the Marceau's getting behind cover. We get a shot out. And I slow down. My goal is to juke the shells to hopefully hitting my bow armor that I know he can't pen. And there it is. He misses our superstructure. We stay alive. 200,000 damage, 9 fires, 175 secondary hits, 5 citadels. What a game so far. And we're still losing. Oh man, these are the fun games. These are the fun games. Even if we lose, I had a great time this one. Getting the option of using Ohio to its maximum potential is always awesome. If we get lucky here, we can kill him. Oh no, we needed 5 hits, not 4. Unlucky. Secondaries might finish him off. Another hit. No. And that's it. A minute left on the clock. And all this Marceau has to do is run away and he wins. But he decides to stick around. The Thunderer spots him. Oh no, disaster. And the throws are real. The Shimakaze, my team tried to throw this, but the Marceau said no. You deserve the win. I will throw for you. What a crazy game. So, really, really, really incredible match. A game of throws, huh? That's what World of Warships ranked is. It's not who's gonna win. 3K base, 3.2K base in a ranked game. Actually, crazy. I don't think I've ever had that high of a base XP game in a ranked game. And you can see we did massive damage to basically every ship except the GK in that one. Yeah, pretty awesome game for the Ohio. It's a very, very strong ship when played around your teammates. Focusing on the destroyers, all that good stuff. Now, time for some flanking, right? And flanking is something that you can do when there's no CV in the game. And guess what? There's no CV this match. So, we're going to go on a flank. You see that Des Moines that's getting ready to radar C the minute a destroyer pops up there? Well, what we're going to do is we're actually going to try and go kill him. Oftentimes, they leave the back door over here open, and you can just get a free dev strike. The Des Moines knows we're here. The Harugumo knows we're here. So, and as well as the Kremlin. So I'm about to face 3 ships all by myself. So instead of charging around the corner, we angle away. We start reversing, and we try and keep a good angle here. Importantly, though, I'm trying to keep my maneuverability options open, because if this Harugumo decides to YOLO rush me, I need to get angled to his torpedoes. He doesn't have a very narrow spread, he doesn't have single launch, but what he does have is torps that do a massive amount of damage. So he also has the ability to reload boost his torpedoes. Broadside Kremlin, one of the hardest battleships to Citadel, not because it doesn't have a Citadel, but because the armor is crazy on that ship and the way it's angled. What can we do? Yeah, we'll take half his health. Thank you very much. And now with the Harugumo coming around, we have to go forward and we got to turn out. That's the key right here. Secondaries on the Harugumo. For some reason, the secondaries are actually able to hit the Harugumo pretty well. I think it's probably because the Harugumo is a long, slow ship. Usually the secondaries go too far behind a destroyer to really do much. There it is. 6 hits from the AP. Huge damage. And our secondaries finish him off. Good first blood so far. And now we're turning, trying to dodge the torpedoes. And looks like we did all right, actually. So I put my secondaries on the Kremlin here, and that's because I'm trying to get fires on him. These secondaries are really, really, really good at starting fires. They have a 9% fire chance base, so they're not going to deal any full pen damage to a Des Moines at this range. They're just going to hit his bow. And fires on a Des Moines are less useful than fires on a Kremlin. As well, at longer ranges, your secondaries are more likely to hit superstructures, which will deal full pen damage. So that's why we're on the Kremlin. I'm trying to isolate a 1v1 here. I'm trying to cut behind the island as much as possible to avoid the Des Moines' fire, because Des Moines has tons of DPM. And over this island, I actually can't Citadel him, but he can get his guns over. So I can get full pens, I believe, into the side of his ship. Overmatching 30 millimeters is very nice, so we get some decent damage. But there was no chance we were ever going to kill him. There's another fire on the Kremlin. So getting those fires on the Kremlin, very important, because it stops his push. You see he's starting to think about running himself. So isolating a 1v1 with the Kremlin or with the Des Moines is what I'm going for. I don't want to be getting shot by 2 targets at once. And unfortunately, he goes broadside right as I'm about to shoot him. And sorry, he goes dark right as I'm about to shoot his broadside, which is too bad. And you can see we're still quite healthy. 62,000 HP after that kind of trading at close range. That's nearly 1 million potential damage at close range, and we're still quite healthy. I've already dealt 148,000 damage. Unfortunately, we can't dip it low enough into the Citadel. A few overpens, not bad. Pushing us up over 152k. I love the Ohio, man. I'll just speed this up. I'm turning around. I'm going it back in, dude. I'm not scared. Not with the Kremlin on that low HP. You can see my Yamato hasn't figured out this position particularly well. He decides to just sit in front of the Des Moines, who's lighting him on fires and doing massive damage. The key here is making sure you're far enough away that your shells can arc over and actually hit the Des Moines. Sitting at these closer ranges where the Des Moines can arc over and hit you, and you can't hit him, that is the worst. Ohio, of course, having slow shells, very slow shells, can arc over a lot of things that maybe a Yamato couldn't. So, again, the ability to overmatch 30mm, I think, is just required for a good ranked ship. There's situations like this where there's going to be a Des Moines or a Hindenburg or some other cruiser with 30mm of armor, Goliath, whatever, where you want that ability to overmatch. And we actually don't get a Citadel. I know I said it was pretty much guaranteed at close range. Well, sometimes you get unlucky. So, fortunately, the Yamato was able to finish him off, and now we got our secondaries on the Kremlin. But guess what was last spotted near our flank? It's the Unicum. So, sorry, not Unicum, Yu Yang. Wow, I got that totally wrong. Yu Yang. So deep water torps are probably on their way. So my goal here is to show broadside and then to turn in. Yu Yang probably thinks that I'm just going to bow into the Kremlin. So I'm trying to cut to the right to try and avoid those predictive torps on the corner. And then we turn in. And he actually did a good job of predicting what I would do by turning, you wouldn't expect a battleship to turn out there. But we do get to the right-hand side of his second launch as well. So, pretty good job by the Yu Yang. I got lucky to dodge them. I mean, deep water torps here, it's all luck, right? There's no skill in dodging deep water torps because they just pop up and hit you, right? There's no reaction time allowed. So, we got lucky there, but a decent prediction of where he would go as well. So, we knew they were coming, and we did a decent job dodging. 206,000 damage already, by the way. Yeah. Ohio's nuts. And you can see that my team has done a pretty good job of holding down the other flank. Of course, on North, if you decide to go up the 8 line, you have to have your team controlling at least the BC cap, right? Or the AB cap. AC cap, sorry. If you're flanking and your team doesn't try and hold on the other side of the map, or at least kite the other side of the map to provide that crossfire, right? Like this Thunder is caught in a crossfire. You can see that from the south and from my position here. If your team isn't able to get that crossfire, pushing up the 7-8 line is a great way to lose the game. Because the enemy team will just bow into you, and you'll probably just die all by yourself. Because the enemy team, as soon as you come around the corner, are able to focus their entire attention on you. If your team doesn't have a crossfire, like my team does right now. So that's why I decided earlier on that I was going to full push this flank. I didn't do it right away. I waited until my team had a good crossfire set up to the point where I wouldn't get solo focused out by the entire enemy team. That's how you lose games. And our Z52 has done a great job. Well, first of all, staying alive. You look at his health pool. 148 HP. That's cutting it close, but he's doing a great job of pushing the battleships off that side and torping them and getting the cap. Really had a much better team in this match. But I think that we all know the reason we won this one. 243,000 damage in a 7v7. That's quite a lot. Yeah, and you can see with the secondaries, you do get quite a few hits still with the Ohio. Less than before, of course. It's always sad to see these secondaries go off and not be quite as accurate as they were before. But they still have around a 30% hit rate on a battleship at 10 kilometers. So that's not bad, I guess. Much better than the 20% hit rate of like a GK. Oh, man. Secondaries aren't the best to build for. But what you can do is actually build for AA. This is something I've been trying recently, and these two games were both with an AA secondary build. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, building for AA, what's that going to do? An FDR is just going to tank all your AA, and they'll strike through it anyway, and you're not going to do anything to it. Well, that's where I wanted to test it. Look at my position. Pretty much the worst possible position you could have. Close to a cap, all by yourself, in the middle of the map. What a juicy target for a CV to come after, especially an FDR. Well, look at the plane damage ticking up. 2 plane kills before the drop, 3 plane kills before the drop. That's not normal. 4 plane kills before the drop. These are FDR planes. They're tanky. Usually, you're not shooting down any planes before the drop, and maybe you get 1 closing plane. But we got actually 6 planes there, and he wasn't able to drop multiple times on us? Hold on, is an AA build working? Oh, I just had to include this, just because, you know, dev strikes are always fun. This is a smaller squad, right? But still a decent example of the amount of damage you can and pressure you can put on an FDR. Before the drop gets off, we get 2 plane kills on an FDR. That's not normal. That is not normal at all. 3 closing, 4. We actually got all of those planes. So if he's trying to strike you, FDR doesn't actually regenerate planes that quickly. The reason FDR is able to just constantly send out full wave after full wave is his planes don't get shot down. But if you're shooting down planes like this, well, he's going to run out of planes very quickly. And you can see here, we got 2 before the drop, 3 before the drop, 4, 5, right? This is not normal. And Ohio doesn't even have the best AA at its tier. But what it does have is the synergy between a AA build and a secondary build. And that's why I've been running Ohio as a bit of an AA secondary ship. A lot of other ships don't really get much value out of the full AA build because they have to give up some main gun, not accuracy, but they give up main gun reload, or actually Montana gives up accuracy. And they don't get much for it. Whereas Ohio gets a massive boost to its secondaries. So let's take a look at that build real quick. I just want to point out here just how many planes I shot down of an FDR. And these aren't useless fighter planes. These are actually his real squads of attack aircraft, dive bombers, and torpedo planes. So this build actually can work as an AA build. So the build looks like this. Yes, I'm running the AA upgrades. We're getting 10% on our AA damage and shell explosions. The big hitter here is priority sector AA damage 25%, as well as another flak puff. That's huge because the flak is what's doing the bulk of the damage here. We're still running fire prevention, concealment, and secondaries. You notice I don't actually have Deadeye on this. And we're still hitting people pretty hard, especially at closer ranges. But this is kind of the normal Ohio build that I would be running once, especially once Deadeye is gone. Before, I was running actually Deadeye, secondary aiming, as well as concealment. No fire prevention previously, but I was playing farther back. Here I'm trying to get up in people's faces, especially in ranked, with the fire prevention build. And the AA is actually allowing me to flank and run these positions that I was running in these 2 games that I showed you, even in AA in CV matches. I have the confidence to actually play in, traditionally speaking, bad positions. Of course, I still need to dodge. I still need to maneuver. That's not going to change. I can't just sit there and tank shells as well as planes, because that makes really easy drops. You do need to make it difficult on the carrier, but a build like this actually can survive against a carrier. It costs the CV a lot to strike this version of the Ohio. And this is what I meant about not a lot of other battleships can run this build, because I'm running Auxiliary Armaments Mod 2. This gives me another 15% damage to just continuous A as well as the explosions. Unfortunately, we're not getting the impact of the +2 shell explosions when defensive fire is up, but it still is really good upgrade for our AA damage. And you could argue running accuracy or main guns, but this full AA build, I think, is just barely enough to work like this. But as an added bonus, we're getting our secondary reload time down to 2.7 with a 9% fire chance, with pretty good accuracy still. So on a ship without secondaries, it's a little bit more difficult to justify auxiliary armaments mod 2. But on something like an Ohio, it's been pretty good for me so far. As a note, oops, we're not looking for a division. I am running the flag as well. So I'm running everything, right? I was testing this to see how good I could possibly get this AA. In the future, I'll likely test without the auxiliary armaments. Maybe we'll go back to Artillery Plotting Room Mod 2, getting that accuracy back. We'll see how it goes. But for now, this thing's pretty good against CVs. And even with this build, we're tanky enough and powerful enough offensively to carry games. So that's why I think Ohio is that's the best pick for a battleship, for ranked battles especially. But in random battles, it does work too, of course. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed these couple of games, and I hope you have a great day.